Our guest today is Sandra Cesar. Sandra grew up on a little little farm area in Oklahoma. She was a young bride. She married young. She started her family young. She was a military wife, and as such, she moved around, and she was on her own a lot. So she is an independent, self-sufficient lady. She forged her own career. She is a savvy businesswoman. And about 4.5 years ago, she moved to Epworth. So, Sandra, we have a lot of questions to ask you. Where was this little farm you grew up on?
I grew up on Beaver Mountain near Stigler, Oklahoma. And my parents, lived on a farm. I was the youngest of 7 children, youngest daughter of 7 children. I had 3 older sisters and 2 older brothers and a younger brother, Jim. And we did everything. I was a big tomboy or a little tomboy, and we just did what farm kids do. I had a wonderful childhood. My parents, it was a Christian home, and I got bossed around a lot, but it was okay.
So then you got married young.
I graduated from Stigler High School in '61, and Fred and I got married. He was in the military stationed at Amarillo, and had no idea what I was getting into, but he was already in the military, so we, like most young people, we were broke, had a baby in about 10 months, and we, then the Cuban crisis came, and he went to the base, and my dad and my brother came to pick me up in Amarillo, Texas, and I moved back to Oklahoma. He was one of those 19-year-old kids that made out a will and a power of attorney and brought it home and said, "Here, Sam, put this somewhere you might need it, and remember where you put it." So
that mature 19-year-old.
Right. We moved back. He went TDY to the Philippines, and our second daughter was born while he was over there. And he came back. We went back to Amarillo, Texas. Then we went to Burns Flat, and we moved back to Oklahoma, and he went to Thailand for a year. And when he came back, we went to Clinton Sherman, and that was a base out in western Oklahoma. If you wanted a Coke, you better get it before 6 o'clock because everything closed down. And we went from there to Omaha, Nebraska, and I was pregnant, I thought, with a son, and it ended up being twin girls. So we had 4 daughters, and we spent the first tour at Omaha 4 years, and then we moved to Anchorage, Alaska. We were up there 4 years, and it was a wonderful tour. Then we came back to Omaha, Nebraska to SAC headquarters for 3.5 years, stayed there, and then he moved to Tinker and retired. And from Tinker, after he retired, our last daughter finished college, and we moved to the farm, and he raised beef cattle. Well, and I was in real estate.
Tell us about those daughters. Tell us about your family.
I have a daughter, Sheila, that lives in Chicago. She has a daughter that's a lawyer in Portland, Maine. She has a son that's going to USC in California, and a daughter that's going to USC as a freshman. The second daughter, Carrie, lives out by Jones, and she has a son in Houston and a daughter in Austin. The older of the twins, Gail, has 3 daughters, and 2 of them live in the more Norman area, and she has a daughter that just turned 16 who is living at home. And my younger of the twins, Trish, lives at Lake Eufaula, and she has one son that will be graduating from OSU Tech this year. and I have 2 great-grandsons that live in Austin, and a great-granddaughter that lives in Okmulgee, and a great-granddaughter that lives in Moore.
You forged your career now. What did you do?
When I first started, when Fred went to the Cuban crisis, he came back with a new attitude, and he said, "You need some education." So I went to John's Business College and graduated from there and went to work for KVII Television in Amarillo, Texas, and they had Technicolor movies, but all the TVs were black and white, and so while I was there, the color came in on TV. So that's what I mostly remember that, and it was something else. We moved. Then my next job, really, the job that I had was at KOPR, and that's the independent radio and TV station out here, southwest Oklahoma City. And that was the era of Wanda Jackson and Jude and Jody and Norma Jean, and before Conway Twitty made it big, he lived in northwest Oklahoma City. And all of the people came by to tape shows for KOPR that we ran on the air. So there was Ferlin Heskey and Buck Owens and Billy Grammer and I don't know how many people, Roy Clark. And but anyway, that was a fun year, a fun job. And
so how'd you get into real estate?
Well, when our last tour at Omaha, I had this good friend who sold real estate, and she would always call me like on Saturday night and say, "You've got to take my Sunday school class tomorrow. I've got to show houses." So here I am at 10 or 11 o'clock trying to get together a Sunday school class, and so I told my husband she got to go to all of the school things, and I missed it because I was working. And so I told my husband, I said, "I'm going to get my real estate license and sell real estate when I get to Oklahoma," and I did. So I loved real estate. I thought it was an investment. It was this, all of your money or most of your money is in your home. So that was my attitude about real estate, and I loved it. But I went from being a realtor to a broker to an appraiser, and so I just worked in real estate. We ended up owning First Realty at Lake Eufaula, my husband and I, and when I retired from there, we went back to Alaska and spent 41 days driving the whole state. Best vacation, but I told him on the way back, I said, "I'm retired." He said, "I'm retired too." So he sold all of his dump trucks, and we spent 3 summers on Lake Michigan at Ludington, and it was just great.
Well, how did you end up at Epworth?
After he passed away in 2011, I stayed on the farm. I just couldn't give it up. And then finally one day I couldn't get anybody to do any work. I couldn't get my lawn mowed when I wanted it mowed. So I just decided time to make the break. And I called my daughter and I said, "I'm ready to move." And so she said, "Sheila, get down here." And so 3 of my daughters, we went looking. We walked in Epworth, and I liked the entryway. I thought it was well built, and it was a choice between Epworth and another place, but I decided on Epworth primarily because it had memory care, it had skilled nursing, and I always thought if I have a heart attack or a stroke, I don't want my kids to have to go to the trouble to move me, so I'm just going to stay here. And I told them, I said, "When I'm gone, just call Jeff King at Stigler and say, 'Mom's gone, come and get her.'" And I've been just happy here. I felt like when I got here, I got a life.
Right.
And
well, what are some of the activities? What's some of the life you got here? What do you do?
Well, most important probably was our prayer group, and I'm hoping to get it started back soon. And I'm on the Wellness Center, the Food Committee, and Holiday Gift Committee. And I encourage everyone to volunteer because it's really important.
You play games.
And I play a lot of games. I've learned Mahjong. I played chicken foot and Mexican train, and I played 42 with dominoes, and I've played them with cards, and I just enjoy life, and I just don't want to stay in my apartment. I read probably 3 books a week. I'm a fast reader, and I enjoy the library. I just enjoy, and I encourage people to get out and get a life. Get out of your apartment, do something.
Thank you, Sandra, for sharing with us today. I see why you're so competitive. You always beat me at chicken foot, and it was a pleasure. Thanks.